What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Laidback Dad Reviews. My name's Stephen George, and today I'm going to be talking about a little movie that I saw recently called Project Hail Mary. This one is starring Ryan Gosling as Dr. Ryland Grace, a molecular biologist. And in Project Hail Mary, we find Ryland Grace. He wakes up in the middle of space on a spaceship and has absolutely no clue why he is there. As he is looking throughout, looking throughout the ship, he finds that the two other people that were with him are dead. So it is essentially him up there all alone with no clue as to why he's up there. Now, as we go throughout the movie, we get some more of his backstory, and he kind of starts to remember why he's up in space, and remembers that he is up there because he has been given the task of essentially saving the Earth from this microscopic parasitic substance called astrophage, which is pretty much depleting the energy of the sun, which would cause a lot of chaos here on Earth because things are going to start getting colder. And when things start getting colder, they're going to die. So he is sent up to space to try to figure out how to get rid of this astrophage that is attacking the sun. Now, my experience going into Project Hail Mary, I know that it is a book by Andy Weir. But I have not read it, and I think in this case I'm going to say fortunately I haven't read it yet. I knew that Ryan Gosling was in this. I knew that Phil Lord and Chris Miller were the directors of the movie, which you may know them from as the creators of the Spider-Verse movies and the 21 Jump Street reboot that they did a few years ago, and Lego Movie. This was also I knew that Drew Goddard, who also wrote the screenplay for The Martian, Cabin in the Woods, and The Martian, Cabin in the Woods, and I know he's done some stuff with Daredevil recently, which when it was on Netflix. Anyway, I knew that all these people were involved with this movie, but as far as the story goes, I didn't really know anything else. I knew that the setting was in space, and that eventually he was going to run into a character from another world. This was my number 10 most anticipated of this year, simply based on those past elements that I mentioned. Now, the way I know, this is going to be my first review that I'm going to post, and what I wanted to do is, I'm definitely going to give positives for each movie that I review, and I also want to include negatives because I don't want it to seem like I just enjoy every single movie that I watch, which most of the time I do, but not always. So I always try to pick out something, but it's normally just a nitpick over something small in the movie that doesn't really faze me, but could possibly, bother other people. But with this, I don't think I had any negatives. The only thing that I could probably think that might steer somebody away is the runtime is right around 2 hours and 37 minutes. But honestly, I never once found myself bored with this movie. So if I was going to say negative, it would be like the length, but like I said, it did not bother me whatsoever. I honestly could have watched even more of this. But I'll go ahead and go to the positives. So the positives, some of the things that I enjoyed, we'll just start with comedic moments. Phil Lord and Chris Miller are known for the improv with their movies, and they brought some of that here into this movie. with the comedic elements. There was a few things in here that cracked me up, such as, whenever Ryland Grace does finally meet this alien being, it's just a funny, playful moment between the spaceships where one moves forward and so the alien moves forward, and it just kind of goes back and forth, and I don't know, it was pretty funny. There is another guy from the CIA that, as Ryland is trying to prepare the people for going into space, they have a few back and forths that's really funny. And then I don't know if I should read this part or not. Before Ryland goes to space, there is a funny interaction between when he realizes he's going to have to do something that he's just not too sure about. The way that he tries to escape and get out of there is, I don't know, it had me cracking up. Another big thing that I enjoyed and appreciated about this movie is the use of practical effects. Any movies that I've seen recently from the 70s, 80s, that were filmed on film and used practical effects, practical sets and stuff like that, it seems to look better than things that are just always CGI. Now, don't get me wrong, CGI looks great, but it can also look pretty wonky too when it's not done correctly. But inside the spaceship that Ryan Gosling's in, that is a practical set and it looks incredible. And then the Rocky in this movie, the alien creature, that's all practical, and it's just pretty cool thinking that Ryan Gosling was able to act along with this puppet, but they make it look awesome in the movie. Another thing that I enjoyed, without giving too much away of the movie, so this is kind of a spoiler right here, but is the unlocking of the memories. Like I said, when we first see Ryland Grace, he doesn't remember anything, and then as he continues to keep trying to figure things out on this spaceship, we're kind of given flashbacks. And it's kind of, from what I think is going on, is that anytime that you're seeing a flashback, you're seeing a new memory or a memory from his past being unlocked while he's up in space to kind of help him with his mission of saving the Earth. And when you're going back, it helps add that emotional depth as to why he's up there, and why it's so important that his mission is successful. And then at the end, he kind of finds out who he truly is, especially when he remembers why he's up there in the first place. So, and I'll just keep it at that. Another aspect that I really enjoyed, and the next two that I'm going to talk about are probably the top ones for me, but it's the collaboration between Ryland Grace and this alien, who are both experiencing their stars, their suns, being destroyed by this substance, this astrophage. So when they first meet, Rocky is essentially a rock, hence the name, and they have to figure out how to communicate with one another. It's not just all right, I'm speaking English and this alien here, this rock, is going to completely understand everything I'm saying. They don't go that route. They've got to practice their communication, and the sounds that Rocky is emitting, Dr. Ryland Grace has to figure out what he's saying, and he's got the help of some of his devices there that help synthesize everything and kind of be like, okay, this is what he's talking about here, this is what he's talking about here. So yeah, the building of the communication together is awesome. And then, as I just mentioned, them having to work together. They're both using their smarts that they have to try and figure out, how are we going to handle this astrophage, and how do you even go about getting rid of something that's microscopic. And I think the biggest thing that I enjoyed about just seeing this collaboration on screen is between human being and this alien, is just showing that, like, even though one's a rock, one's a human, with all the differences that should not work, when they work together, you can make anything work. You can save worlds, you can save planets, anything's possible, I guess I should say. Anything's possible when you're working together, putting differences aside and just see what can be accomplished. Which would leads into the next thing, and that's the emotion of the movie. A couple of things. The cinematography is absolutely beautiful. There's one part where he is just floating outside of his ship, looking at this planet, and it's beautiful. And then a little bit later, like I said, like that astrophage it's microscopic, so you can't really see it until they use this effect that kind of reminded me of like an infrared type deal, where you can see it, and just the cinema, like just with the scope of everything, it just looked incredible, and just brings like a sense of wonder. That's a good word for it. And in one of these flashbacks, with what's his name? I think it's Ken Lung. Ryland Grace is talking about how, like, he doesn't think that he could ever go to space because he's not brave enough, and he's given the advice that you find bravery whenever what was it? You find bravery when you can be brave for somebody. Somebody's given that meaning to you to be brave. And throughout the whole collaboration between Rocky and Ryan Gosling's character, like, you see this tight relationship form together. Which leads, obviously that's going to lead to something that happens later on in the movie where, he finds that somebody that he needs to be brave for, and when you're brave for somebody, you will do whatever it takes to make sure that they're taken care of, or that you've done everything you can to try to help them out. And at the end of this movie, I just felt a sense of positivity. It's in a world that's pretty bleak right now, and it doesn't seem like. Don't get me wrong. I know that there's happiness around. There's joy. I've got 2 little girls that give me that every single day. But in like the grand scheme of things, right now, it can be difficult to find positivity in things. But this movie here, like I said, after it was over with, I felt good. Like I felt positive. Like it gives you that feeling. And before we wrap this up, there's one other thing I was wanting to talk about with the positives of the movie. Anytime you're involving space, I mean, that can get pretty in-depth and could probably lose the audience quick. I'm one of those audience that if you start getting into too much, you could possibly lose me. I remember when I watched Tenet, I needed my subtitles. I didn't know what was going on, and I just felt lost the entire time. still looked great, but I felt lost the entire time. But with Project Hail Mary, like, I felt like they described everything, presented everything well enough so that I never once felt like I was just like getting lost in all the scientific jargon. I felt like I had a pretty good grasp of what was going on. Okay, this astrophage, like I said, it's a parasitic. What do you call it? Parasitic. One second. So like I was saying, like with this astrophage, like it is what you do with someone that's microscopic and it's parasitic and it's eating the sun. Like, what is that? But then you know they explain it in a way that's just like, okay, that makes sense. I get what he's doing. I know why he's going to space. I understand what he has to do. I understand what they both have to do in order to save both of their planets. So, just if you've been worried about that, don't worry about it. You will understand it well enough and will still appreciate and hopefully love the movie as much as I did. So overall, Project Hail Mary, this is why you go to the theater, guys. Like, and I know that it doesn't have the IMAX screens now. I think it had it for about 2 weeks. Unfortunately, I was able to catch one over where I live at, and just the scope, anytime you go have a movie in space, just like the scope of it is just, it's so big. You know, you kind of lose that whenever you bring it home. And I know TVs are big now, but you kind of just lose that scope and scale whenever you watch something at home like this, as opposed to going and seeing it on the big screen. And then, you know, if you can get some Dolby Atmos where you got speakers just all around, it's a beautiful thing. Ryan Gosling deserves all the love that he's getting from this movie. You know, I don't think that there's ever been a movie that I've seen with Ryan Gosling where I was just like, no, I don't think so. I think I've enjoyed everything he's done, whether it's Drive, Crazy Stupid Love, Remember the Titans. And it's nice to kind of see him getting the love that he deserves, because, you know, the last movie that he did where he's a stuntman didn't do so well. And it does make me excited for him to be in the next Star Wars Starfighter movie coming out next year, which will again put him in space. So overall, Project Hail Mary, I gotta give it a 5 out of 5, honestly. Had I known it was going to be this good, I probably would have ranked it a little bit higher on my my most anticipated 2026. But then again, it's always nice to get that surprise. So come end of the year, I mean, what would be awesome if is that it was my 10th favorite movie of the year. But because all the other ones were just as incredible as I hope that they would be. But I think that this one's going to move up by the end of the year. And, you know, we talked about Ryan Gosling quite a bit, but with Phil Lord and Chris Miller, it just, you know, knowing that they were originally on to direct Solo, a Star Wars story, which I enjoy. I enjoyed it, the Ron Howard version. But after seeing Project Hail Mary, it just kind of makes you wonder, what could that have looked like? Again, I enjoy Solo, but just wonder what it could have been had they kept on Phil Lord and Chris Miller. So, if you've seen Project Hail Mary, what did you think, man? Please jump down in the comments. Let me know. I'd like to build up this channel a little bit more so that you know, maybe I can end up eventually bringing some people on to talk about this, so I'm not just sitting here rambling the whole time to myself. But like I said, I mean, I really enjoyed this movie. If you get a chance to see it in theaters, please do it. You know, it's that type of movie that deserves to be seen in theaters. So until next time, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next time. Peace.